Told you this week we might have a few shows that are in some strange times. It's just after 7:30. Typically we go live at 8, but there's a lot going on at the state capitol that we got to go cover. So getting an early start to the morning, leading right up to 8 o'clock when we've got a live hearing that you'll be able to catch at thecentersquare.com on the Illinois page dealing with homeschooling. So stay tuned for that. We'll preview that with some statements made on the House floor, not just about homeschooling, but also about the issue of the U.S. Department of Education possibly shutting down. So we'll get to that. We'll also hear a little bit of the continued concerns from some Republicans about Illinois' sanctuary state policies. And some proposals they have to maybe allow counties to opt out of enforcing the Trust Act. So we'll get to that. But up next, a bill that made it out of the House Judiciary Committee deals with no-knock warrants, where police would be restricted as to when they could actually do these types of warrants. So that's a preview of what's coming up here. Of course, you can like, subscribe, hit that notification bell, and wake up with us early in the morning, even though didn't really give people that notice. They're here this morning already in the chat room, even though it's a half hour before we actually do the show. But greatly appreciate you guys being here. But you can get the podcast if you can't make it live. So be sure to search for Illinois in Focus, and you'll be able to find that. But also get to the website, thecentersquare.com, where you can subscribe to the newsletter and get headlines in your inbox each and every weekday morning. But also thecentersquare.com, which there's no paywall. It's a free news wire service for you. So you can check out, of course, the live feed that we'll have at 8 o'clock this morning of the House Education Committee, possibly dealing with the Homeschool Act here in Illinois. So some of the things coming up here with Illinois in Focus Daily. Like, subscribe, hit that notification bell. Wake up with us each and every weekday morning, and stay informed.
We also know that we are in Illinois, that we're broke and people are leaving. It's because we're physically bankrupt and morally bankrupt. That's just a snapshot of what y'all have done to this great state of Illinois. And now you want jurisdiction over our kids? I'm sorry, but I think if you're in charge of the Sahara Desert, you would run out of sand. Not only would I say no to this bill, but I would say hell no, and I'd appreciate you take this off the record and throw this pile of crap in the garbage. Thank you.
State Representative Chris Miller yesterday on the House floor anticipating the Homeschool Act being brought up in a House committee this morning. With Illinois in Focus Daily, that's where we start with the idea of more regulations on parents, including those who homeschool their children, a measure that could come up in a House Education Committee hearing today. It's expected to see mounting opposition. It is Illinois in Focus Daily. I'm Greg Bishop. Like, subscribe, hit that notification bell, wake up with us each and every weekday morning, and also get the newsletter at thecentersquare.com. So yesterday on the Illinois House floor, not much movement on substantive measures. There were some second readings, and that's part of the legislative process where bills have to have 3 readings. So they go through and they just read the bill name, and the sponsor has to be there in the chamber, and they say second reading, and then it goes on to third reading and such. So yesterday also was a pretty busy day in committees, but delayed. The Republicans in the House caucused for like 2 hours, and it delayed all the scheduled committee hearings for about 2 hours. But they ended up moving about 93 bills out of committee. Friday's the deadline for committee week. So the House has been busy. The Senate also advancing some measures out of the Senate. But one that we're going to focus on here is dealing with education, right? And homeschooling in particular, the Homeschool Act, which was brought by State Representative Tara Costa Howard. And it's supported by about 700, 800 people. But last I checked, more than 33,000 opponents had filed witness slips. So that's coming up at 8 o'clock this morning at the State House. And if you go to thecentersquare.com, you'll be able to watch that live. But education became a part of the debate on the House floor, outside of committees. They do get together. All of the legislators come in for the Illinois House. They gavel in. They have a prayer. They say the pledge, and then they have points of personal privilege. House Minority Leader Tony McCombie got up to have a point of personal privilege about education, and in particular, the idea of the Trump administration looking to dismantle the U.S. Department of Education. And she said that while a lot of people have complained about the idea and have injected what they think is going to happen, McCombie said that it actually could turn out well for the state of Illinois.
Just wanted to reassure, if the U.S. Department of Education is abolished, the $3.5 to $4.5 billion in federal funds that we may expect next year could be directly to us, sent directly to us, has a lot of potential benefits, depending on how, of course, we were to manage that education spending. There's many positive proponents to that. We could actually have greater local control and flexibility. We could have reduced government and administrative cost, meaning that we could reduce red tape, streamlining the processes. We could have a greater share of that money coming to our classrooms rather than to the administration. We could have a more efficient use of the dollars. It could go to addressing our teacher shortages, classroom resources. With strong collaboration with leadership, Illinois may be able to actually implement more effective reforms without waiting on the feds.
So again, that's House Minority Leader Tony McCombie saying, hey, I know people are worried about the U.S. Department of Education and whether it's going to be opened or closed and dollars are going to be kept from states and how that's all going to work out. We really haven't seen the full scope of what the Trump administration plans on doing with the U.S. Department of Education. But it's given fodder for debate on the House floor time and again. While they're talking about tax dollars, right, we'll get to the homeschoolers with their concerns with State Representative Chris Miller and his speech on the House floor yesterday. But when it comes to the public school aspect and your tax dollars going to public schooling, you had State Representative Sue Shearer, a Democrat out of Decatur, as a former educator. She stood up and was really, again, interested in a conversation about what the U.S. Department of Education closure could look like for a state like Illinois, but she said she needed some guarantees.
In regards to public school education, my concerns continue. Actually, they are growing every day. If we can be guaranteed that special ed won't be touched, that Pell Grants won't go away, that rural teacher programs will continue to exist, that civil rights will still be protected, that Title I, Chapter 1 reading and math services will stay in place, that there will be no vouchers to run away from funding public schools, then you can sign me up, Coach, and I'd be all for it. But until you can guarantee me that, I couldn't consider supporting the end of the Department of Education. Thank you.
Again, that's State Representative Sue Shearer talking about the potential closure of the U.S. Department of Ed. And we've seen reports of half of the U.S. Department of Ed employees told they're going to be laid off or something to that effect. Of course, it's fast kind of whipsaw news out of Washington, D.C. But again, it's given plenty of fodder for those to go back and forth, even in a state like Illinois, which could look at $2 plus $3 plus $4 billion coming from the U.S. Department of Education, federal tax dollars, your tax dollars that you send to Washington, D.C. Will it be coming back to Illinois, or will the federal government just absorb it elsewhere? That's a concern people have. We have yet to see that clear roadmap. But the education debate didn't just talk about the potential U.S. Department of Ed closing. It also talked about the potential of Illinois putting more regulations on parents, especially those who homeschool their children, and a measure that is going to be heard today, or possibly could be heard today. They are going to have a education committee hearing, and hundreds, if not thousands of people are expected to be paying attention to this hearing, specifically for Costa Howard's Homeschool Act, which would regulate parents, saying if you homeschool your kids, you have to notify the local school district. If not, they'll be truant. It gives a whole bunch of other requirements that parents who homeschool their kids would have to comply with. So State Representative Chris Miller, the Republican, he stood up in opposition of that on the House floor, anticipating plenty of people there in opposition for this morning. And again, something you can watch at 8 o'clock starting, and it might start a little later. It's just kind of how things go at the State House. But go to thecentersquare.com and you'll be able to watch that live. Here's Chris Miller from yesterday.
You know, when I think about this bill, I've got a couple of blue heeler pups that love to go with me in my big diesel-powered, beautiful pickup truck out to see the cows. And one thing that they enjoy doing is as soon as we get out in the pasture, they like to jump out. And they'll find the biggest pile of crap, and they'll go in there and they'll roll around in that, and just so it feels so good to them. And then they'll come back to me almost with a smile on their face, expecting me to be proud of them. You know, when I think about this bill that y'all have decided to tyrannize home educator and private educators with, I think about this dogs, and I think about this bill being nothing but a pile of crap, and you get so happy and you're so proud of yourself for trying to eliminate some of the freedoms that home educators enjoy on a daily basis, and the absolute joy of being able to educate their own kids and see them thrive and prosper through the process. You know, when I think about this whole idea, I thought, why would any responsible parent turn the educational process over to you rascals over there on the other side of the aisle? Look at what you've done. You know, by your own statistics, about 70% of your kids can't read or write or do math. And by the way, we always want to talk about democracy. Well, there's approximately 35,000 opponents to this bill, and only about 750
Representative, can you please bring your remarks to a close? Thank you.
I had the landing gear down, but a lot of times when I lose my spot, I have to go and start over.
We will.
The thing that we can observe of what you've done well in taxing, borrowing, spending, and regulating. And what we have watched in real time, we watched you destroy safety and security, quality education, economic opportunity, energy independence. You've turned the American dream of home ownership into the American nightmare because of the out-of-control real estate taxes we all have. You don't know the difference between a boy and a girl. You think that carbon dioxide is some dangerous element out there that's going to destroy you. We also know that we are in Illinois, that we're broke and people are leaving. It's because we're physically bankrupt and morally bankrupt. That's just a snapshot of what y'all have done to this great state of Illinois. And now you want jurisdiction over our kids? I'm sorry, but I think if you're in charge of the Sahara Desert, you would run out of sand. Not only would I say no to this bill, but I would say hell no, and I'd appreciate you take this off the record and throw this pile of crap in the garbage. Thank you.
State Representative Chris Miller yesterday on the House floor, anticipating a hearing to this morning at the Illinois State House. 8 o'clock is when that hearing happens, and you'll be able to watch it live at thecentersquare.com. Much more on that issue we'll talk about tomorrow, clearly, but tons of other stuff going on at the State House. It is Illinois in Focus Daily. I'm Greg Bishop. Like, subscribe, hit that notification bell, and wake up with us each and every weekday morning here with Illinois in Focus Daily.
The truth is, the Democrats' sanctuary state policy has cost Illinois taxpayers billions and made our communities less safe. And the Democrat giveaways to illegal immigrants are incentives for them to come. If you build it, they will come, and they did.
State Representative C.D. Davidsmeyer yesterday during a news conference with fellow Illinois House Republicans, laying out a package of bills that they hope to at least start a conversation about modifying the state's status as a migrant sanctuary. It's Illinois in Focus Daily. I'm Greg Bishop. Quick segment here about some of the ideas and proposals that Republicans have. They're in the super minority in the Illinois House. So whether or not they're going to be able to advance any of this, prognosticators would say it's not likely. But there's also the possibility of a conversation on the other side with Democrats looking to maybe tighten up aspects of the Trust Act and the Way Forward Act, two measures passed, one in 2017, I think the other one in like 2019, that deals with police interaction with federal immigration authorities when it comes to communication, when it comes to cooperation, and the like. So obviously, when those measures were put in place, the proponents said that it really was meant to ensure that those who are here, even if they're undocumented, they need to be able to go to law enforcement if they're the victim of a crime, and they need to be able to access law enforcement without the fear that they could be reported to federal immigration authorities. That's the really, I think, at least my understanding of the crux of the issue of the Trust Act and the Way Forward Act, which impacted sheriff's ability to house detainees that the federal government's hoping to deport. So you've got these laws in place in the state of Illinois, and then 2020 happens, and then you've got the Biden administration and relaxed border controls, which led to a flood of estimated 6 to 14 million people coming into the country, and especially flooding into those border districts in Texas and such. And then Texas, those areas couldn't handle it, so they sent them off to states where they have these sanctuary policies, including Illinois, and the state got 50,000+ in Chicago. It's been costing billions of dollars, and here we are now with the Trump administration working to essentially address this issue. The Trump administration sued the state of Illinois and Chicago. That case is pending, with the state having recently said they are looking to dismiss the case. But clearly, this issue Republicans are working to address, but how do they do it? Not sure. One measure would essentially abolish the Trust Act. Here is State Representative Paul Jacobs talking a little bit about his measure.
We must repeal the Trust Act to end Illinois' irresponsible and dangerous sanctuary state policies. I have filed House Bill 1345 to repeal the Trust Act and stand ready to put my name on any of the bills filed by my colleagues that will move this issue forward. I firmly believe in what Ronald Reagan said years ago, and I think he was correct on it. There is no limit to the amount of good you can do if you don't care who gets the credit. One last note. I would love personally to take care of every person in the world, but my responsibility right now, the people of the state of Illinois. Thank you.
So you've got the idea of just getting rid of the Trust Act. Not sure if that's going to happen. State Representative Mike Coffey was there as well, and he laid out his proposal to essentially allow for counties to opt out of the Trust Act and the Way Forward Act, saying that Southern Illinois counties and others outside of Chicago, they don't want to have to be burdened with what they've seen in Chicago and elsewhere, so they shouldn't have to comply with it. We'll see if that measure goes forward. State Representative C.D. Davidsmeyer again talking about the cost to taxpayers of all of this.
The Auditor General recently released an audit of the HBIA, HBIS programs which are healthcare programs for illegal immigrants. That audit showed that the actual cost of the program was 286% higher than the Pritzker administration had estimated. In addition, the state has spent over $800 million to address Chicago's migrant crisis. In total, over $3 billion has been spent on services for migrants that we know of and illegal immigrants, while services for our most vulnerable citizens remain chronically underfunded and underserved. The truth is, the Democrats' sanctuary state policy has cost Illinois taxpayers billions and made our communities less safe. And the Democrat giveaways to illegal immigrants are incentives for them to come. If you build it, they will come, and they did.
So C.D. Davidsmeyer, he's been really standing as a voice to highlight the taxpayer cost here when it comes to the state's sanctuary policies. But he was also asked about the issue of Governor Pritzker and whether or not he seems to be shifting his tone heading into the 2026 gubernatorial election, because what you have is, the budget that the governor proposed actually eliminates one of those taxpayer subsidies for the health care of immigrants here as adults. So that's tens of millions of dollars that the governor is essentially slashing from the previous budget. He's keeping in place the program for taxpayer subsidies to pay for the health care for senior immigrants. But regardless of immigration status, that program is going to continue under Pritzker. But he's also talked about a variety of other things. Here's C.D. Davidsmeyer laying that out.
You've seen the governor start to shift his views. He's proposed getting rid of the HBIA program. He has changed from supporting all illegal immigrants to possibly being willing to get rid of criminal illegal immigrants who've committed crimes here. I think it's important that we look at the background of those individuals that are in our country. We have to know who's here to be able to know whether we're safe.
So again, C.D. Davidsmeyer talking about the costs and the maybe possible shift of attitude of Pritzker. I guess we'll see, but clearly an issue that's not going to go away anytime soon. It is Illinois in Focus Daily. Like, subscribe, hit that notification bell. Wake up with us each and every weekday morning and get the podcast where you get podcasts, plus get the newsletter at thecentersquare.com.
There's very few warrants in my mind that are worth the potential loss of life. This bill allows for those warrants, though. This bill allows for no-knocks if you have a warrant that's needed. But beyond that, I don't know why we want to put at least my members and law enforcement in harm's way. And so for that, we support this bill. And I'm happy to answer any questions.
That is Illinois State Rifle Association's Ed Sullivan talking to a House Judiciary Committee yesterday about a bill from State Representative Cam Buckner to restrict Illinois police in how they issue warrants, or execute warrants, I should say. It's Illinois in Focus Daily. I'm Greg Bishop, and yesterday was a busy day at the State House. Various House committees meeting, a flurry of activity. They essentially advanced 90-plus measures out of the House committee all over the place. And one in particular we watched was the Judiciary Committee. They did not advance any of the measures impacting the firearm owner ID card. However, there is a Gun Violence Prevention Committee today, here Wednesday, the 19th, that could have some of those bills come up as well. So we'll be watching that and updating you. But yesterday in the House Judiciary Criminal Committee, State Representative Cam Buckner had a bill that he got passed. And afterwards, he went to a news conference and talked about what this bill is all about.
Today, HB 1611, the Anjanette Young Act, passed out of the Judiciary Criminal Committee, with members committing to continue negotiations as we move the bill to stand on second reading. This vote is a step forward, but not a finish line. I'm grateful to my colleagues for advancing this bill and for their willingness to stay at the table to ensure that we deliver a strong, balanced, and effective reform package here. At its core, this bill is about safety. Safety for families and safety for law enforcement officers who deserve clarity, consistency, and support when carrying out dangerous duties. Just as a recap, HB 1611 ensures that warrants are executed at verified addresses. It ensures that firearms are never pointed at children. It ensures that officers are equipped with body-worn cameras and have emergency medical support nearby. And it ensures that no-knock warrants are limited to the most extreme and necessary situations, not for simple drug possession. That families are not left vulnerable after forced entry, and that negative raids are transparently reported. This makes officers safer too. It reduces the chaos of uncoordinated raids, and it ensures that they are properly trained, properly supported, and not placed in unnecessary danger.
So Buckner talking about the bill after it advanced out of committee, but it ultimately is going to have some kind of amendment to it before it passes finally out of the House. And then when it gets out of the House into the Senate, they could amend it even further and then kick it back to the House for concurrence, which all of this is going to play out before May 31st. So we'll watch this bill all the way through, and an interesting concept of regulating the time frame where a warrant can be issued, making sure they have body cameras on, making sure that there's paramedics nearby, making sure that a whole host of requirements. And this would impact counties of 90,000 or more, and then you've got counties with fewer that would have to go to a judge and try to get certain types of warrants. And there's also some carve-outs, at least for exigent circumstances. That's a term that means kind of like an immediate situation that needs to be addressed right away. So if that's something that needs to happen, a judge can see that, look at the evidence of an exigent circumstance or something to that effect, and then make a decision if they can do something extraordinary beyond what the bill regulates. But Buckner said that there's going to be more conversation about this, and even though it passed out of committee yesterday, ahead of the deadline Friday to get bills out of committee, Buckner says he's going to hold it and work on it some more and possibly bring back an amendment. But State Representative Dennis Tipsword, he's a law enforcement officer as well. He had a whole host of questions about the regulations, questions about the situations where it could be important to get into a house and so on. But he also apologized and said law enforcement they want to do better, and the circumstance that led to this bill, multiple, not just in Illinois, but across the country, where no-knock warrants happened and, people ended up dead. Animals ended up dead. Injuries to the, person who the no-knock warrant was issued against, and, against also the law enforcement. So it could be a pretty dangerous situation. But Dennis Tipsword, he did have some concerns as a law enforcement perspective as to how this is going to play out.
When we execute search warrants, we're looking out not only for our safety, but obviously anybody in that house, in the neighborhood. 9 a.m. to 7 p.m., when we get into those afternoon hours, now we've got kids on the street, extra traffic in the neighborhoods where response vehicles may have to come down, just a lot more folks in the area that could be in jeopardy of something happening, as opposed to that early morning under the cover of darkness type search warrant. Cover of darkness also gives police officers that cover approaching the house. So again, everybody's safer. So the time frame, I think, needs a lot of attention.
So Tipsword sharing his thoughts about that and saying that more work needs to be done on this, and he looks forward to having conversations with the proponents on it to fine tune it. But Illinois State Rifle Association's Ed Sullivan got up there and talked about why he thinks this is a good bill, especially for members of his community, the Second Amendment community, the owners of firearms in Illinois. They are pretty tuned in to their rights when it comes to, issues of home breaches, and things could get ugly. Here he is talking about how why the Illinois State Rifle Association likes the bill.
And so I can tell you how typically would happen if this would happen. A lot of them are going to have dogs, and the dog's going to alert them. Within 5 seconds, someone will have a firearm in their hand. And if someone knocks down their door, they're going to be going towards where their dog is going first, and they're going to have that firearm in hand. What happens if they don't hear the announcement that this is law enforcement? What if the dog gets there and the law enforcement doesn't say anything? Tragedy can happen, and that's the problem that we see with no-knock warrants in general. I don't want to specifically talk about the other aspects of the bill, but when you have a group of individuals like my members that are going to be in harm's way, that's when we have to say something. And I guess I look at this as, there's very few warrants in my mind that are worth the potential loss of life. This bill allows for those warrants, though. This bill allows for no-knocks if you have a warrant that's needed. But beyond that, I don't know why we want to put at least my members and law enforcement in harm's way, and so for that, we support this bill. And I'm happy to answer any questions.
So again, the State Rifle Association supporting this measure to restrict no-knock warrants in the state of Illinois. We'll see how that gets modified, but that very much is on the trajectory of passing. A lot more activity today at the state capitol, including a gun violence prevention committee that could take up some firearm owner ID card measures and other bills concerning firearms in the state of Illinois. So be sure to stay with us and wake up with Illinois in Focus Daily each and every weekday morning here with the Center Square on YouTube. Get the headlines in your inbox. Subscribe today at thecentersquare.com. It's free. And also don't forget to get the podcast where you get podcasts. Just search Illinois in Focus and you'll find it. All right, that is a live view of the House Education Committee. It's going on now, and you can see another live view there of a lot of people there on the first floor. It's 8 o'clock in the morning, and they're already there anticipating the Homeschool Act to be heard. I'm actually going to get out of here so I can go into that and bring you the latest. So if you want to watch this live, a couple of ways you could do that. Go to thecentersquare.com, and you can also find it at blueroomstream.com. So if you go to blueroomstream.com, you go to free feeds, you click on special events, and you'll be able to pull that up and you can watch live. In this special event, all the people at the Capitol there to oppose the Homeschool Act, and then the committee hearing set to start soon. So check that out. We'll be back tomorrow and recap that for you here with Illinois in Focus Daily. I'm Greg Bishop. Have yourself a wonderful rest of the day, and we'll see you tomorrow.